then only they will come to know how difficult it is to control Bastar area.
Yeah.
It's very difficult for even one corps of army to control Bastar area. Definitely, development is taking place. But you cannot, like the state is telling, it's a law and order problem definitely of the state. But Naxalite problem, yes, it is not alone the law and order it is not a law and order problem, and it is not only with the state. Definitely it is a coordinating affair of both state and center and the intelligence group. They will act together. But the leading role should be taken by Chhattisgarh police itself. Like Punjab police, they took the leading role for wiping out the Khalistani commandos and everything, and Punjab it became quiet. So the same thing has to be done here. CPMMs are there in addition to them. The IRB battalions have to be trained. The local boys who are taken to DRGs, of course the DRGs were local boys. But what about that training? We have got a training center in Kanker from Army, and I hope Chhattisgarh police, they can be well trained in Kanker, and they have to come to the expectation. See, like Andhra and Telangana,
drop your guard,
they have done through Greyhound.
One cannot drop their guard at all. The Greyhounds are an example. They're but every time there is a slip up, there is carelessness, there is loss of lives. And Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, PK Mishra ji, Dhruv Katoji, you are all veterans. You've handled explosives, especially, and you know how much explosive is required to get to blow up a road that is more than 10 feet wide, and to blow a hole in that road which is more than 3.5 to 4 feet deep. So Lieutenant General Kulkarni, for somebody to be able to sow that kind of explosives and plant them on that road, which is a tarred road. If you see the road, it's a tarred road on either side. But look at that crater. That's a huge, that's a lot of explosive that has been planted there.
Yeah.
5 feet deep crater is what we are given to understand. General Kulkarni.
You know, what has happened is extremely sad. Something which is avoidable, because we have to have actionable end. Much that everything has been done at all levels. It's very easy to blame so and so should have done this, so and so. What happens is the people on the ground, the boys who are there, maybe the DRG, which are the local tribals as it is brought out, who have been trained or not trained or partially trained into this kind of thing. A kind of complacency sets in. And even last time, if I recollect it, in 2010 or something, when in April, when we lost about 75, when they returned back from operations, this is what happened. We have, until and unless we have good intelligence coming in, we have to have our eyes and ears everywhere. Human end, technical end, kind of mobile tasks that are required to be there. The terrain.
Good evening. You're watching Nation at 5 right here on CNN News 18. I'm Ridhima Bhatnagar. Less than a fortnight away for elections in Karnataka, and politics seems to be only escalating with each passing day. The Congress chief, Mallikarjun Kharge, today called the Prime Minister a poisonous snake, but minutes later defended his remarks, saying that the attack was actually on the BJP. The BJP was quick to hit out at the Congress, saying this is a frustrated Congress party and the 13th of May will be an answer to them. Not just abuses, but quota also seems to be dominating this election season in Karnataka. After the BJP said they will take away the 4% quota from Muslims, the Congress has now said that if they come to power, they'll increase reservation to 75%. Abuses, quota and appeasement. Is this what reflects the priorities of the political parties, and will this define electoral success? We'll take that question to our guests in just a bit, but first let's listen in to what the Congress president had to say and the defense that came minutes later.
ನೀವಂದ್ರೆ ಇದು ವಿಷಯ ಅದ ಇಲ್ಲ ನೋಡೋಣ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನೆಕ್ ನೋಡೋಣ ನೆಕ್ಕಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಿರಿ ನೆಕ್ಕರು ಸತ್ತ ಇಲ್ಲ ಇದು ವಿಷಯ ಅದಾನೋ ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಮೋದಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟನ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಮನುಷ್ಯನ ಪ್ರಧಾನ ಮಂತ್ರಿ ನಾವು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನೋಡೋಣ ನೆಕ್ ನೋಡೋಣ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಆ ವಿಷಯವನ್ನ ನೆಕ್ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಮಲಗೇ ಬಿಡ್ತೀರಲ್ಲೇ ಹಂಗೆ ನೀವು ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಚಿಂತೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಈಗ ದೇಶಕ್ಕಾಗಿ
ಭಾರತೀಯ ಜನತಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿ ಅದು ಒಂದೇನಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಹಾವು ಇದ್ದಂಗೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನೀವು ಹಿಂಗ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ದೆ ನೆಕ್ ನೋಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಟಿಮೇಟ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಡೆತ್ ಅಪ್ಪ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಹೇಳಿಲ್ಲ ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ನಾ ಹೇಳಿದ ಮೊದಲೇನೆ ವೈಯಕ್ತಿಕವಾಗಿ ನಾ ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಹೇಳೋದು ಇಲ್ಲ, ಈಗೂ ಹೇಳಿನಿ ವೈಯಕ್ತಿಕವಾಗಿ ಯಾರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನನಗೆ ಅಸೂಯೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಆದರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಐಡಿಯಾಲಜಿ ಏನಿದೆ ಅದು ಒಂದು ವಿಷಯದಂಗಿದೆ. ಆ ಐಡಿಯಾಲಜಿಗೆ ನೀವು ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ನಾನು ನೆಕ್ ನೋಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಡೆತ್ ಈಸ್ ಸರ್ಟನ್.
So that was the original remark of the Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge and the defense that came minutes later, where he said that I did not name Narendra Modi. I was in fact talking as far as the BJP is concerned. But by now, most opponents of the BJP have learned that attacking the individual, Narendra Modi, doesn't work for them. Rather, it actually backfires. Still, the Congress continues to indulge in name-calling. Let's take a look at some prominent attacks on the Prime Minister from even before he became the Prime Minister, and how has that really gone down as far as the opposition is concerned. Let's begin from 2007, when it was the month of December. The comment that came from Sonia Gandhi was where she called Narendra Modi Maut ka Saudagar. The result at that time was that the BJP won 107 seats in Gujarat Assembly polls. Let's move on. Let's move on from 2007 to 2014. Manishankar Iyer attacked Narendra Modi ahead of the polls, and at that time again that comment backfired because the result was that BJP alone won 282 seats as far as the 2014 Lok Sabha polls was concerned. But this is not it. Let's move again to Jan 2014. You had Manishankar Iyer, as we pointed out. Then in October 2016, you had Rahul Gandhi saying the Prime Minister indulged in Khoon ki dalali. At that time, the result was that the BJP won 324 seats in the 27 Uttar Pradesh Assembly polls. And that was not all. Let's move on to the next example. In December 2017, once again, you had Manishankar Iyer calling the Prime Minister Neech. At that time, the result was that the BJP won Gujarat Assembly polls with 49.1% votes. So the question today is, despite all these examples that we're bringing to you, is this what electoral politics has come down to? What about development? What about infrastructure? Has political parties completely forgotten that, and name-calling, abuses, Kota Rao, has that now become the priority as far as political parties is concerned? That's the question that we want to discuss, and that's the question that I want to take to our guests as well. Let's bring in our guests also at this point. We have Tushar Gupta, Senior Editor, Swarajya Magazine. We have Ravi Sharvastava, political analyst, who's joining us. Mustafa Khan, Congress spokesperson, also now joining us. Good to have all of you with us this evening. Mustafa, I'd like to begin the conversation with you. I want to understand what is the issue that the Congress is fighting the elections for Karnataka this time around. Even before the Gujarat elections, you had the Congress president indulging in name-calling. This time around, going one step below, calling the Prime Minister a poisonous snake. Does this not reflect as far as the mindset of the Congress party is concerned?
We are fighting the election purely on local issues. We are fighting the election on corruption charges, on charges of the government being a 40% commission sarkara. We are fighting the election based on development issues. BJP is trying to change the narrative on things that don't matter. Mr. Kharge was just stating the ideology of BJP. He was stating that you don't touch a poisonous snake. Even if you're not sure whether it's poisonous or not, you don't touch a poisonous snake. So that is what that is what he was referring to. He was referring to the BJP's ideology. He wasn't referring to any one individual.
No, but I just want to understand, why does the Congress even need to indulge in name-calling like this? The reason that I started the show with past examples is that if anything, the Congress should have learned by now that once you indulge in name-calling, it actually works in the favor of the BJP, and why would you want that?
Well, we don't indulge in name-calling. The Congress never indulges in name-calling. It's the BJP that indulges in name-calling. To remind you, the Prime Minister himself indulges and encourages name-calling in their party. From the Jersey cow comment to the hybrid bachada to the 50 crore girlfriend. I can give many examples, but I wouldn't. There are few name-callings that the BJP leaders have done that I can't even state on TV. So the Congress clearly doesn't indulge in name-calling.
Tushar, I want to bring you also in the conversation. Now, I'm finding it really difficult as to when the Congress says that they're extremely confident as far as their prospects for Karnataka are concerned, why wouldn't you want to fight it on the merit of work done by the Congress party to prove the BJP wrong, rather than indulge in name-calling like this? And at the end of the day, this is something that we've discussed time and again. The Prime Minister is not just the head of one political party, but the representative as far as the country is concerned? If nothing else, shouldn't you just respect the position that the man holds?
It is too far-fetched to expect the Congress to respect the office of the Prime Minister. We've been seeing it for 9 years. The way the Congress has carried out its theatrics and its tactics, not even stopping during COVID. So, Ridhima, to be very honest with you, I have stopped expecting that members of the Congress will show the same dignity, will show the same generosity towards the office of the Prime Minister, forget the Prime Minister himself. Now, Ridhima, everyone on social media is wondering that just ahead of the polling, it's just a couple of weeks from now, on 10th May, why is the Congress and its party workers scrapping the bottom of the barrel? They are very sure that they're going to win 120, 130 seats. BJP is going to be reduced at its lowest. And they have some local issues to fight on. They say the corruption is a big issue. Lack of infrastructural development is such a big issue. That's the claim of the Congress. And yet, when it comes to the campaign, they reduce it to the attack on the Prime Minister. Why can't Siddaramaiah or DK Shivkumar make it about the plans the Congress has for Bangalore, for instance, or for Karnataka at large, for instance, for enabling better law and order in coastal Karnataka, for dealing like elements of the now banned organization PFI? Why has it reduced to a religious issue through reservation, or why has it reduced to a name calling? And the Congress spokesperson was saying that Narendra Modi has called out many Congress leaders time and again. Sir, the kind of comments that have come from the Congress, it has cost them elections, not just state elections, but even national elections. In 2013, it was Mani Shankar Iyer who said, "Hum chai ka stall lagwa denge, wa nivran kar sakte hain." What did happen on the ground level? You saw what happened in 2019, Chaukidar Chor hai. Rahul Gandhi was apologizing before the Supreme Court for the same remark. And today you want to make that same mistake again. At the end, Ridhima, the Congress looks nervous before the polling day, and that is why perhaps they're retorting to these cheap attacks. The BJP, on the other hand, may spring a surprise. We don't know.
Ravi, I want to bring you...
This integrity was when Dr. Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister for 10 years. And the language that was used, I think that's the most unparliamentary language ever used.
Okay, since we have brought that issue up,
was during Manmohan Singh's time. Including...
No, hold on.
Tushar, let me bring Ravi also.
Let me remind you, Ridhima, one final point. Let me remind you that in 2013-14, roughly, there was a remark that was made by Nawaz Sharif for Dr. Manmohan Singh. None of the Congress party members stood up to that remark, questioned that remark, attacked that remark. You know, the one leader who did, it was Narendra Modi, and then he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat.
Yeah.
So let's not talk about...
Do you remember Narendra Modi's comment about Dr. Manmohan Singh, calling him a Dehati lady, crying to Barack Obama?
Mustaba, 1 second. Let me bring Ravi also in the conversation. Essentially, Ravi, what I'm trying to understand, whether it's the BJP or the Congress party, nobody true can, say we are holier than thou and we haven't indulged in name calling. But that's the question. Why do political parties even want to indulge in name calling? Why don't they want to fight it on issues that actually have an impact as far as the voter is concerned? Do you think the voter in Karnataka is going to be impacted by the kind of abuses that are made or the kind of work that is done on the ground?
See, one thing I want to comment on, that the remark which you made that Mr. Modi is a Prime Minister and he should be respected. Very right. But he does not behave like a Prime Minister of the country. He behaves like a Prime Minister of the BJP only. I just now saw him moving in Kerala, having that lotus symbol hanging in his neck and on an official trip. Now, is it the way? Is he a party member when he is going on official trips? No, let's not comment on that. The issue here is that he has not called Mr. Modi as a poisonous snake. He has clarified it. He has said it. What he meant is the BJP party. Now, BJP party is exactly, they have done the same thing. They have spread the venom of communalism.
No, but Ravi, this is very convenient that you make a comment, you make it with knowing very well that this will be picked up by the BJP. Minutes later, you say, actually, that wasn't the point. The BJP is politicizing it. It sounds far too convenient. This has happened before the Gujarat elections also, when Mallikarjun Kharge made a comment with referring Modi to Ravan, then said that I wasn't referring to Modi. I'm trying to understand, why does the Congress even need to refer to BJP candidates, BJP politicians, BJP leaders? Why is the Congress not talking about its own report card? It's actually that simple.
First of all, allow me, please.
One second, let Ravi finish his point.
Allow me. What I'm saying is that Mr. Kharge is not a person from North as such. I mean, he is not so proficient in Hindi, but he is a man from South. So I think sometimes slip of tongue could happen.
No, that is far too convenient, Ravi, to say.
Okay,
He's the chief of the Congress party. He knows the responsibility that he has. He also very deliberately knows the words that he is using. And as I said, not really the first time. And Mustafa, that's exactly what I want to understand. Doesn't it reflect extremely badly for your own party? A party that is trying to come back to power in the state of Karnataka, rather than putting out the report card that, look, this is the kind of work that we've done as far as infrastructure is concerned, as far as development is concerned, as far as jobs is concerned. You're only resorting to name calling time and again. And thus the BJP is saying, one second, Mustafa, that's why the BJP is saying that look at the Congress's electoral success. They've been decimated in most parts of the country. The pattern will only continue. You're actually handing it over to the BJP.
But who was ruling for last 4 years?
Ravi, one second. Mustafa.
See, Kharge Saab used a proverb to describe the BJP's ideology, which is being twisted by everyone possible and the BJP to change the narrative. As simple as that. If you look at all the speeches in every rally, Congress leaders are only talking about development. We are talking about Siddharamaya's report card for 5 years. We are talking about the fact that we were the fastest growing state for 5 years. We were 14th when we started off in 2012. We were number 1 in 2018. So we are talking about what we have to offer to the people of Karnataka. We've come up with 4 guarantee schemes. We are only talking about development. If you, on the other hand, if you look at BJP leaders, you will not find a word of development. You will not find a word about their schemes. They won't find a word about their governance because they can't talk about it. It's the worst government that the country has seen, the Karnataka state has seen in the last 70 odd years. So they have nothing to talk about. They are in fact they are talking about hijab, halal. Like even Amit Shah is talking about rights. Like what are these people even talking about?
And what is the Congress's counter to that? To indulge in name calling, that's exactly what I'm saying, Mustafa. If you're hitting out at the BJP saying that their narrative is only of polarization of hijab, halal, so on and so forth, what is the narrative that the Congress is using? Tushar, I want to bring you back in the conversation. Now, over the last 1 week, the only 2 narratives that we've seen is either abuses, gali politics, or an entire row as far as quota is concerned. And thus the question is, are we now scrapping the bottom? Because we know that there is now a desperate attempt to try and get some sort of voters, and this is the only narrative that will work. From the Congress, we've heard that if we come back to power, we'll increase the reservation to 75%. The fact that political parties have to resort to either abuses or quota or reservation, this is appeasement and nothing else.
Absolutely, absolutely. Look, on the topic of the quota, it needs to be outrightly stated that it's not a Karnataka issue. For long, the center and the apex court have been deliberating that people who convert from Hinduism to Islam or Christianity, should they be availing the benefits of reservation? And it's a very healthy debate that's going on between the center and the apex court. So let's not pretend that Karnataka is where the only issue is. Now, the Congress says they'll increase the reservation, they'll restore, or rather, they'll ensure that the reservation for the Muslims goes on. My question to the Congress is, will they promise religious-based reservation in Punjab tomorrow? In Gujarat also, where there is a significant section of minorities, not just Muslims, but also Jains? Will they do the same in Rajasthan, where there's another significant population of Jains? In Himachal, where you have Buddhists? In Kerala, where you have Christians? I mean, the problem here is not the quota. We can discuss that. But the religious-based quota, that was not envisioned even in the constitution. We had the reservation for downtrodden communities within the Hindu ecosystem. When did the religious-based reservation start? That's the first point. Number 2, Ridhima, what do the citizens, what does an average voter want? They want the schemes to be implemented properly, for the subsidies to reach them on time and in the way that has been promised by the government. They want better infrastructure. We all see what happens to some parts of Bangalore, a very important city in India. Whenever there is excessive rainfall, they want the law and order to be in proper shape. We saw what goes on in coastal Karnataka by PFI and what happened during the hijab.
That is exactly why I wanted to understand that how come none of these issues seem to be dominating the political narrative of either of the political parties. Ravi, you wanted to come in?
See, I just want to tell that what BJP exactly has done in last 4 years. What that 40% pay CM commission issue was there. The pub brawls were there. The hijab, azan, halal, all kind of communal venom they have spread across the state. Where are they talking about the development? They were in power for 4 years. They should talk about the infrastructure. The entire Bangalore was deluged in the water in 2-day rain.
Imagine. If you say
come on, your turn is over now.
Congress talk about infrastructure. Why are they
Congress just talk about
quota?
infrastructure.
Why
You
was the
first
Congress
decide
backing
you
everyone who was
want
there
to
on the hijab
you
issue?
want to
Why was
polarize the
Congress
state
backing
on
the
communal
PFI?
lines.
Okay.
This is what is your objective. You want to divide people everywhere. The
Ridhima, in
Congress
all
wants a
Okay.
caste-based
Okay,
census. The
Ravi and
Congress wants
Tushar, nobody will really
2011
understand
report
what's
to be
happening
disclosed.
at this
The
rate. Let's not
caste-based
speak
census.
over each other. I've also run out of time, but I still have found it difficult to get
more
an
than happy
answer.
to talk about public infrastructure
One
in
sec.
Bangalore city. Do you remember the tender show roads? The entire central business district has been tender showed. If you have a look at the amount of development that has taken place in Bangalore in the 5 years of Siddharamaya's government, it's a different city. It's unrecognizable from what it used to be.
Okay.
And these guys are taking it back to what it was when Siddharamaya picked it off.
Okay.
So
Mustafa, unfortunately, I've completely run out of time, but I found it really difficult to get an answer as to why political parties have to resort to either quota or abuses rather than issues that will have an impact as far as the voter is concerned. I'd like to thank all our guests. We'll keep tracking all those developments, some other political reactions also now coming in.
There is a poison in the mind of Kharge. It is a prejudiced mind towards Narendra Modi ji and BJP because this kind of thinking comes because of desperation. They have been unable to fight him politically in the parliament, outside, and they are seeing that their ship is sinking. So desperately they are making all these kind of remarks. This time also, his comment will cost dearly to the Congress. I am telling you, it will cost very dearly. People will not accept such kind of a below the belt talk by the tall leader of Congress. And they know that this election they are going to lose.
खड़गे जी को कांग्रेस ने अध्यक्ष तो बना ही दिया है, पार्टी के अंदर कोई मान नहीं रहा, पोस्टर बैनर अभी भी गांधी परिवार के ही लगते हैं, तो खड़गे जी सोचते मैं ऐसा कौन सा अपमानित करने वाला स्टेटमेंट मोदी जी को दूं जो सोनिया जी से भी भद्दा हो। कभी कोई कहता है मौत का सौदागर, कभी कोई कहता है नीच, कभी कोई कहता है बिच्छू, कभी कोई कहता है मोदी तेरी कब्र खुदेगी। अरे इस भाषा का प्रयोग करती है कांग्रेस पार्टी।
He has not tried to demean anyone. He has not tried to do the name calling that the BJP does. He has not acted like India's home minister and said there'll be riots in Karnataka. I mean, let's ask these questions. Let's ask questions. The BJP, the question that how does the Prime Minister call our promises lies? Have you asked the BJP a question that how dare the Prime Minister say the Congress party has no warranty? And if you have not asked any of those questions, then questions will be asked of the poisonous politics that the BJP spearheads.
And more reactions now coming in as far as the comment that was made by Mallikarjun Kharge. The Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has also now reacted to Kharge's remark on Twitter stating, President of Congress Shri Mallikarjun Kharge says Modi is like a poisonous snake. Shocking that Kharge ji, also the leader of opposition in Rajya Sabha, speaks so about the Prime Minister. He's now trying to wiggle out. Hate is what is coming out. Kharge should apologize. Mara Shakil, our political editor, now joining us on the broadcast. Mara, is the BJP now seeing this as a turning point as far as elections in Karnataka are concerned and are only going to escalate their attack on the Congress?
Yes, that's right. Because remember, every time there has been a personal attack against the Prime Minister, it has always backfired on the Congress party. We have seen how that Chai Wala Jibe was converted into a massive campaign by the BJP in the run-up to 2014. Mani Shankar Iyer almost went into political oblivion because of those comments. Repeatedly, we have seen whenever there has been a personal attack against the Prime Minister because his personal capital and connect with the people remains very, very high. This seems to be not working for the Congress. And now Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, who's campaigning in Karnataka, has now, criticized on the similar lines that multiple leaders of her party have. Hate is what is coming out, and Kharge must apologize is the word that is coming in from Nirmala Sitharaman, the Finance Minister. From Dharmendra Pradhan, who is the Karnataka in charge, to other leaders, all of them have come out all guns blazing because they know certainly, and they know it, that this can be converted into a massive political campaign.
Maria, thanks a lot for getting us all those details. We'll continue to track all those developments. We'll continue to get you the reactions coming in as well. For now, we're slipping into a very short break.
In technical, in kind of mobile towers that are required to be there. The terrain is extremely, totally jungle. It's not easy. I understand it's not easy. That's the reason one has been there. But notwithstanding that, you find a lot has been done. At a point of time, there were 140 districts affected. They came down to 76. And now that we are just about 46 districts. And who is responsible for most of the 95% of the deaths, and 90% of all of it is CPIM Maoists. These are the people who are involved into it. So it is a very small fraction, and we have to keep a tag of it.
Let's go straight across to T.S. Singh Devji, Cabinet Minister, Chhattisgarh, joining us. Namaste. Thank you for speaking with us here at CNN News 18. My first question to you, Mr. Dev. Were these DRG personnel as good as sitting ducks? Only 10 of them deployed for an anti-Naxal operation.
Not really. As far as I know, though I'm not in Raipur, I'm not in Chhattisgarh today. I'm in Bhopal with my family. But the information that has come in that this blast took place at about 12:45 in the afternoon. After the group was returning from a exchange of fire with the Naxalites. There's about 45 kilometers south of Dantewada, which is the district headquarters. And it was a convoy of vehicles. This was not a single vehicle. There's not just 10 people. There were 10 people in the civilian vehicle, of course camouflaged, who were affected by the IED blast and who were martyred. 10 police personnel and 1 driver, civilian driver. All local boys, all district force boys, I think. All of them were tribal boys. And Yadav, I think, was the driver. So we lost these 11 people today, very sadly.
But these personnel were traveling in a vehicle instead of going on foot, Mr. Dev. They used the same route twice, which is again not the SOP. So why were the standard operating procedures not followed?
I am really not aware of the geographical terrain there. Were there other routes available? Were they not available? I am frankly not aware of that. And there are suggestions given in these SOPs that you could take another route, etc. But if there is one route going in and one route going out, you don't have an option. I am frankly not aware of that, so I cannot really speak authoritatively on that. And this is a tar road they were traveling on, a road which was tarred about 4 or 5 years back. They had gone by this route and they were returning by this route, which is true. And they could have used bikes, they could have been on foot, but any number of other operations in a similar fashion may not have met this sad fate today. But there has been loss of life today. They would be looking into the matter and trying to see whether there was any slip-up.
It on the face of it looks like there were slip-ups because the SOPs were not followed. But Mr. Dev, with whom does the buck stop over today's incident? Who's responsible for 10 lives lost?
Everyone. Nobody can really shirk responsibility, bottom up, top down. Everybody is involved in the entire process of management and governance. So you cannot really put the buck on any one person. It is a system that we function in. The central government forces are there, their intelligence is there, the state government forces are there, their intelligence is there, government is there, administration is there, the police forces are there. So it's not any one person, but whenever a tragedy takes place, it is best to face up together. And if there is a matter of responsibility, not put it on anybody else's shoulder. Everybody, all of us must take the responsibility.
It's 11 lives lost, 10 jawans and the driver. Someone has to be accountable. According to data provided by the CRPF earlier this year, incidents of violent Maoist attacks in Chhattisgarh dropped by 77% in 2022 compared to 2010. But the incidents of killings were increasing. Is the Chhattisgarh government ready for a return of red terror?
See, they are there. Nobody is denying that Naxalites are not present. When the state of Chhattisgarh was formed, we had, let us say, 5 battalions of paramilitary forces. Today, we have probably more than 60. We are aware that a large area has been sort of cleared or taken under control, though Naxalites could be just about anywhere. They could be in Delhi, they could be in Bhopal, they could be in Raipur, they could be in any city. They are not limited to any one track. But where the activities could have been seen as unchecked, those areas have been fairly limited now. And last, I talked to senior police officials while I was in Jagdalpur. They mentioned an area of, let us say, 40 by 100 kilometers that needed to be taken care of further. So it's a very difficult task, very difficult terrain, almost uninhabited, very difficult to deal with it, undulating forests and jungles and streams. Many of the areas are unapproachable. And in that, it is a process where gradually things are moving towards greater control of the state machinery. It's not as if they have the run of the ground, they can do whatever they want. It is not quite like that. Things have improved, but we need to go much further ahead where Naxal activity or their presence is eliminated. So we are a little distant still from there.
Mr. Tia Singh Dev, thank you for speaking with us and making the time here at CNN News 18. But there, like you said, there is a lot more that needs to be done. Ladies and gentlemen, the reality is that they need to get it right only once. Our security forces and the establishment has to get it right every single time. And another aspect, it's not at the line of control. It's not in Jammu and Kashmir. It's not at the line of actual control or LAC. It's not in the northeast.
पूरा उड़ गया। जिस तरीके से वहाँ पर जो है ब्लास्ट हुआ है, करीब 6 से 7 फीट गहरा जो है गड्ढा हो गया। उसके साथ साथ जो है घटनास्थल से करीब 50 मीटर से भी ज़्यादा दूर जो है ये पिकअप का गियर बॉक्स है जो यहाँ पे गिरा है।
Welcome back. Thanks a lot for staying with us. A day after the deadly Naxal attack in Chhattisgarh's Dantewada, a bunch of wire was found at the crime scene. Sources also telling us here at CNN News 18 that this bunch of wire is suspected to have been used to trigger the IED. Meanwhile, after assessment of the crime scene, intel sources have also told us here at CNN News 18 that a tunnel had been dug below the road and then packed with explosives. According to sources, industrial explosives that are used for coal mining have also been suspected to have been used. Remember, 10 jawans of the District Reserve Guard, along with the driver, were killed in this Naxal IED attack in Dantewada yesterday. The team was on a combing operation in Aranpur district when the blast actually happened. Let's also now break down the details in terms of what do we know so far as how the ambush was laid for this DRG force that was in fact on its way back. Now look at the details that we are putting out. The blast crater was almost 5 feet deep and 10 feet wide as well. That means it was a high intensity blast and even the quantity of the explosive that was used was extremely high. What we're also now understanding, as we pointed out earlier, that a tunnel was actually dug below the road. So the top of the road looked like any other road, but there was a tunnel that was actually dug below that road. Now, seconds after the Maoist attack, more details have also now emerged. Well, of course, there are questions that are being raised as to why the protocols or the procedures were not followed. What were the procedures that were not followed? The first procedure that was not followed was using a vehicle. In most conditions, it is advisable to not use a vehicle, to use a bike or others because that can be spotted by Maoists or Naxals. The second procedure that in fact was not followed was using the same route while going and coming back, which actually led to an ambush being led by the Naxals, resulting in 10 jawans being martyred. But as we pointed out, the impact of the blast was so high that the entire road that was surrounding that area actually blew off. And what was left as far as the vehicle was concerned was just a skeleton. Remains of wire, as we pointed out, have also now been found at the spot. More details also now emerging in terms of the explosive that have possibly could have been used, and also whether this was an intel failure. Considering the fact you had the DRG force that was returning back, why did they use the same route and why was backup not called for? As we pointed out, now more videos emerging of moments of what happened after the Dantewada blast. We've also managed to speak to one of the survivors who's in fact narrated this entire ordeal of what really happened. Remember, there was also firing that happened between the Naxals and the DRG force. Let's also now bring in our colleague Arunima, who in fact has been tracking these developments for us, who's in fact managed to speak to that survivor of Dantewada attack as well. Arunima, first, you brought us that exclusive conversation. Help us understand of what the survivor has told you, because that will help us understand the sequence of events better.
Yes, so Yuvraj was driving the Scorpio, the SUV, and he was ahead of this vehicle which was blown off till they came to this spot where there was a festival going on. It's a tribal festival which was going on, and there were wooden structures that had been put up. So Yuvraj tells me that a piece of twig got entwined in his wheel, and therefore he slowed down, and this vehicle overtook him. Moments later, it just lifted off the ground. That's how he describes that. It lifted off the ground slowly, and by the time it came down, it was blown into pieces. Unrecognizable is what he says. Then he says there were gunshots. He could hear firing from both sides of the road. 303 fire from the right and burst of AK series rifle type fire from the left. But he did say that slowly the sound started fading away. We were not in the range of the bullet, he says, which means that the Naxals waited to see whether the bus actually exploded, waited to trigger the explosion, and then use the gunfire as a cover to escape from that. He also tells us that the Aranpur Thana, which is about 1.5 kilometers from the spot where the incident happened, they had heard the sound of the explosion, and two vehicles full of reinforcement was coming towards this spot. But the ASI who was traveling with Yuvraj used his presence of mind, and he got out of the vehicle. There were 7 others. So total 8 people were in the Scorpio which Yuvraj was driving. They got out. There was an injured, alleged Naxal also in that vehicle. They all got off, and Yuvraj was sent to alert the Aranpur Thana that don't rush in. There could be an ambush. Often we have seen Naxals triggering off a blast, and then when reinforcement comes in, they are shot dead as well as part of the ambush. So then he went and warned them to not rush in. Protocol was followed. Once the Naxals, gunfire could be heard at a distance, that's when the reinforcement came in. But by then it was just too late. Yuvraj explained that there was no way anybody could have been injured. It was spot death. And, the way even the rifles have been found totally twisted, it tells you the impact of the explosion.
Arunima, also help us understand in terms of any clarity now emerging of the kind of explosives that have been used, because as you've been rightly pointing out, if you just look at the kind of intensity, that just shows you the depth of what the blast was, and that's why within minutes it was even difficult to call for reinforcements. Any clarity now emerging the kind of explosives that was used?
Most likely it is ammonium nitrate, high-grade ammonium nitrate, which is used for mining activities. There are coal mines in that area, and preliminary information seems to suggest that this was about 50 kilograms of ammonium nitrate that was packed into this tunnel that was dug. Foxhole is how technically they're referring to this tunnel-like structure. It was dug in a way that if you see from the top, there's nothing amiss on the road. And then the mud that was, the soil that was taken out of the digging, care was taken to also dump that soil a few 100 meters away near a pond, so that if a road opening party comes and it sees soil on the side of the road, it can get alerted whether anything has been placed on the road. But there was no chance for them to see that as well. NSG's bomb data center is on the job, as are the forensic teams from the central forces. They are trying to analyze for sure, but now as of this moment, this is what we know: a nitrate compound, wire, and that tunnel-like structure. Perhaps this planning was going on for more than a week.
Okay, Arunima, we leave the conversation there. Thanks a lot for getting us all those details. And in fact, Arunima spoke to one of the survivors of the Dantewada Naxal attack. Let's listen in.
आपका ये जो नक्सली हमला हुआ है उसमें आप मौजूद थे ना?
जी मैम, मौजूद था। मेरी जस्ट पीछे गाड़ी थी।
आप मुझे बताएंगे युवराज जी क्या हुआ, आपने क्या देखा?
मैम, हम लोग 3 गाड़ियां चल रहे थे। एक पिकअप थी और एक मेरी स्कॉर्पियो थी ब्लैक वाली, और फिर उसके बाद एक तूफान थी, कोर्स गाड़ी जो लंबी सी होती है ना, वो वाली गाड़ी। उसके बाद मेरी गाड़ी में लकड़ी फंस गया, वो जो आम पंडुम जो बना रहे थे वहाँ गाँव वाले, तो हम लोग उसको चढ़ा दिए। तो गाड़ी में लकड़ी फंस गया, पिकअप निकल गई, मेरी गाड़ी में फंस गया, तो मैं 2 मिनट के लिए वहाँ पे निकालने के लिए रुक दिया। उसके बाद फिर मैं स्पीड बढ़ाया कि मतलब सामने किसी को लेके जा रहे हैं, जो भी पकड़े थे जिसको भी, उसको लेके जा रहे थे हम लोग, क्योंकि वो घायल था।
अच्छा।
उसके बाद फिर सडनली मेरी गाड़ी ना हल्की स्लो हुई, और जो मेरी पीछे वाली गाड़ी है वो एकदम तुरंत मतलब मेरे को क्रॉस करके सीधे आगे गई, 50-60 मीटर के लगभग ब्लास्ट हो गया।
So that was a survivor of the Dantewada attack, in fact narrating the sequence of events of what really happened, which led to 10 of our jawans being martyred and the driver of the vehicle losing his life as well. Let's also now bring in our guest. We have the former DGP of Uttar Pradesh, Arvind Kumar Jain, joining us. We also have senior fellow ORF, Sushant Sareen, also now joining us on the broadcast. Gentlemen, good to have both of you with us this evening. Sushant, I'd like to begin the conversation with you. Naxal attacks, though it has happened after a while, still continues to be a big menace as far as Chhattisgarh is concerned. Whether areas like Dantewada or others, they have been a hotbed as far as Naxals are concerned, despite different political parties trying their best. What is the biggest challenge that still remains in trying to weed out the Naxals?
Look, I think it'll be very difficult to completely weed them out, because it's at the end of the day, it's an ideologically driven movement. And they do use certain genuine and certain manufactured grievances to keep getting new recruits into their ranks. But I think over the last decade or so, their abilities and their capabilities have been gradually whittled down. And over the last couple of years, there are not too many attacks, or at least not too many very big attacks that have taken place. Unlike the kind of stuff we used to see maybe about 8, 9, 10 years back, when there were mass casualty attacks taking place, 70 people dead in one case, an entire convoy taken out in another case, in which some of the most high-profile people were killed. These are now more targeted kind of attacks. Individuals are targeted, or an odd attack of the sorts which happened the other day. Of course, this particular attack was meticulously planned. I think you need to give the devils their due. They did it with a certain amount of smartness. Normally, when these kind of IEDs used to take place, attacks used to take place, those were mostly on the kacha roads, and it was difficult to make out whether, somebody had planted an IED. But once the pakka road, the metal roads came in, it became much more difficult to carry out these kind of attacks. But now when you start digging a tunnel, and as your correspondent described, that, taking care that you take the whatever soil you are digging out, you are pushing it out somewhere else so that nobody can detect anything. So yeah, they did it well, but I think this is a setback which should not be allowed to affect the morale of the forces out there. I don't think it will. I probably think it is going to motivate them to hunt these people down. But I think this is a long drawn off fight. I don't think, you can eliminate it. You probably will limit it much further, but that's as good as it can be for the foreseeable future.
Okay. Arvind sir, let me bring you also in the conversation. Now that more details are emerging, and as a colleague was putting out, that it looks like a tunnel had been dug below the road, and also the remnants had been taken away to a pond close by. It was all triggered. There were wires found as well. High intensity blast. Prima facie, what are the kind of lapses that happened?
Generally, there is a road clearing party, also road opening party in front of these vehicles. And I am told that it was there, and but naturally it didn't notice anything, because they did absolutely immaculate planning, and tunnel was dug. I have not heard of any such thing in the past. Because now most of the roads in the area, they are metallic roads, and a lot of development is taking place, and Naxalites, they oppose also such development, opening of schools and construction of roads and over bridges, because it facilitates the movement of forces and they can reach the spot very quickly. So naturally now new strategy will have to be formed by the security forces. Drone coverage, satellite coverage used to be provided at times. this is actually a new strategy on the part of Naxalites.
Yeah.
They are targeting small, very small convoys of in small numbers. Initially, they used to attack very big convoys. As Mr. Sareen was saying, more than 70 jawans were killed in one go a few years back. So now, and this is the time, summer time, when these people try to gain some tactical counter-offensive. They are on tactical counter-offensive to gain dominance in the area.
Yeah.
This happens till May, June, I'm told, and there was intel of movement of 150 to 175 Naxalites in the area. I don't know why did they go and what led to this kind of ambush. All details will come out, but it's a very unfortunate incident, and technical support will have to be provided to forces.
Yeah. And the larger question now is that rather than pointing fingers, what are the lessons that we can learn from this very unfortunate tragedy which has resulted in 10 jawans of ours being martyred, so that we can contain this the next time around? Unfortunately, I'll have to leave that conversation there. Investigation currently is happening on the ground. More details will emerge in terms of the explosive that was used, the quantity of the explosive that was used in this IED blast as well. Arvind Kumar Jain and Sushant Sareen, always a pleasure speaking to both of you. Time for us to slip into a very short break. We're coming back with lots more.
Kulkarni, for somebody to be able to sow that kind of explosives and plant them on that road, which is a tarred road. If you see the road, it's a tarred road on either side. But look at that crater. That's a huge, that's a lot of explosive that has been planted there.
Yeah.
5 feet deep crater is what we are given to understand. General Kulkarni.
You know, what has happened is extremely sad. Something which is avoidable, because we have to have actionable end. Much that everything has been done at all levels. It's very easy to blame so and so should have done this, so and so. What happens is the people on the ground, the boys who are there, maybe the DRG, which are the local tribals as it is brought out, who have been trained or not trained or partially trained into this kind of thing. A kind of complacency sets in. And even last time, if I recollect it, in 2010 or something, when in April, when we lost about 75, when they return back from operations, this is what happens. We have, until and unless we have good intelligence coming in, we have to have our eyes and ears everywhere. Human end, technical end, kind of mobile tasks that are required to be there. The terrain is extremely, totally jungle. It's not easy. I understand it's not easy. That's the reason one has been there. But notwithstanding that, you find a lot has been done. At a point of time, there were 140 districts affected. They came down to 76. And now that we are just about 46 districts. And who is responsible for most of the 95% of the deaths, and 90% of all of it is CPIM Maoists. These are the people who are involved into it. So it is a very small fraction, and we have to keep a tag of it.
Let's go straight across to T.S. Singh Devji, Cabinet Minister, Chhattisgarh, joining us. Namaste. Thank you for speaking with us here at CNN News 18. My first question to you, Mr. Dev. Were these DRG personnel as good as sitting ducks? Only 10 of them deployed for an anti-Naxal operation.
Not really. As far as I know, though I'm not in Raipur, I'm not in Chhattisgarh today. I'm in Bhopal with my family. But the information that has come in that this blast took place at about 12:45 in the afternoon, after the group was returning from a exchange of fire with the Naxalites. This is about 45 kilometers south of Dantewada, which is the district headquarters. And it was a convoy of vehicles. This was not a single vehicle. There's not just 10 people. There were 10 people in the civilian vehicle, of course camouflaged, who were affected by the IED blast and who were martyred. 10 police personnel and 1 driver, civilian driver. All local boys, all district force boys, I think. All of them were tribal boys. And Yadav, I think, was the driver. So we lost these 11 people today, very sadly.
But these personnel were traveling in a vehicle instead of going on foot, Mr. Dev. They used the same route twice, which is again not the SOP. So why were the standard operating procedures not followed?
I am really not aware of the geographical terrain there. Were there other routes available? Were they not available? I am frankly not aware of that. And there are suggestions given in these SOPs that you could take another route, etc. But if there is one route going in and one route going out, you don't have an option. I am frankly not aware of that, so I cannot really speak authoritatively on that. And this is a tar road they were traveling on, a road which was tarred about 4 or 5 years back. They had gone by this route and they were returning by this route, which is true. And they could have used bikes, they could have been on foot, but any number of other operations in a similar fashion may not have met this sad fate today. But there has been loss of life today. They would be looking into the matter and trying to see whether there was any slip-up.
It on the face of it looks like there were slip-ups because the SOPs were not followed. But Mr. Dev, with whom does the buck stop over today's incident? Who's responsible for 10 lives lost?
Everyone. Nobody can really shirk responsibility, bottom up, top down. Everybody is involved in the entire process of management and governance. So you cannot really put the buck on any one person. It is a system that we function in. The central government forces are there, their intelligence is there, the state government forces are there, their intelligence is there, government is there, administration is there, the police forces are there. So it's not any one person, but whenever a tragedy takes place, it is best to face up together. And if there is a matter of responsibility, not put it on anybody else's shoulder. Everybody, all of us must take the responsibility.
It's 11 lives lost, 10 jawans and the driver. Someone has to be accountable. According to data provided by the CRPF earlier this year, incidents of violent Maoist attacks in Chhattisgarh dropped by 77% in 2022 compared to 2010. But the incidents of killings were increasing. Is the Chhattisgarh government ready for a return of red terror?
Welcome back. Thanks a lot for staying with us. Operation Kaveri is in full swing. Another flight with 246 more Indians evacuated from Sudan have landed in Mumbai. The External Affairs Minister, Dr. Jaishankar, has said India welcomes back its own. Close to 3,000 Indians will be brought back home over the next 2 to 3 days. More flights carrying Indians are expected to land in the national capital. India has used C-130J military transport aircraft and the warship INS Sumedha to evacuate more than 530 citizens from Sudan. Meanwhile, another batch of 297 Indian citizens have also been safely evacuated by INS Teg, safely evacuated from Port Sudan to Jeddah. We in fact have a family that has been evacuated under Operation Kaveri that is now in fact joining us on CNN News 18. Sukhvinder is joining us and they're joining us from Zirakpur in Punjab after they reached फ्रॉम सुडान. सुखविंदर, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद हमसे बात करने के लिए. आपकी पूरी परिवार भी मुझे दिखाई दे रहा है. पहले मैं आपसे समझना चाहती हूँ, अब तो फैमिली को काफ़ी रिलीफ होगा, पर आप हमारे दर्शकों को बताइए आप सुडान में कितने टाइम से थे, कितने साल से काम कर रहे थे?
Actually, I'm working in Zain, which is a telecom operator, same like Airtel and Vodafone. So I was working with them since 2015. So पिछले 8 साल से मैं वहाँ पे काम कर रहा था as a telecom engineer. So living with my family, like my wife, my elder daughter, and even the younger daughter was born over there.
तो काफ़ी लंबे समय से आप और आपके परिवार एक्चुअली सुडान में थे जैसे आप बता रहे हैं. पर सुखविंदर, एक चीज़ बताइए, कब आपको लगने लगा कि सिचुएशन काफ़ी ख़राब हो रही है?
Actually, it's the first day of war. Like हम लोग ऐसे casual life जैसे होती है. On one day, I just woke up. तो हम लोग, मैं और मेरी डॉटर दोनों, हम लोग शॉपिंग सेंटर गए थे, लाइक सामान वगैरह कुछ लेने. तो लेके हम अभी जस्ट घर वापस आए थे कि गोलाबारी स्टार्ट होगी, मतलब ना. तो within like 10-15 minutes, they started using like helicopters and airplane. तो हमें पहले तो समझ नहीं लगा कि क्या हो गया एकदम से. हमें लगा शायद वैसे ही कुछ परेड वगैरह हो रही होगी जहाँ कुछ ऐसा वैसा होगा. तो बाद में जैसे जैसे मतलब क्लटर थिंग्स रिमूव होना स्टार्ट हुई, मैंने अपने कॉलीग्स जो लोकल है उनसे पूछा कि क्या चल क्या रहा है, तो उन्होंने बताया कि मतलब इट्स some kind of a violent war has started between two factions, which we already know, it's RSF and Sudanese Armed Forces. Actually, they have some kind of a political disagreement, or they had one place called Merowi, where they were having what we call it like a military training session between Sudanese Armed Forces and Egyptian Armed Forces. सो वहां से ही इनका फैक्शन स्टार्ट हुआ आज से कुछ 15-20 दिन पहले। तो पहले तो वो एक तरह का पॉलिटिकल डिसएग्रीमेंट ही था दोनों पार्टीज के बीच में, बट स्लोली जब ये आरएसएफ वाले भी इन्वॉल्व हुए, इन्होंने मेरोवी जो उनका जहां ट्रेनिंग सेशन चल रहा था उनको कवर अप कर लिया। तो ये और लोकल्स को थोड़ा सा हरास करना और इंटिमिडेट करना स्टार्ट शुरू कर दिया। तो फिर ये चलता रहा। तो उससे एक दिन पहले इनका कोई पॉलिटिकल डिसएग्रीमेंट हुआ ऑन द मेकिंग ऑफ द सोवरेन काउंसिल, कि कितनी काउंसिल में कितने लोग कितने बंदों के होंगे। तो नेक्स्ट डे बस वो जब एग्रीमेंट कैंसिल होता है तो नेक्स्ट डे ये वायलेंस स्टार्ट हो जाता है उसके बाद।
जी, तो सुखविंदर, जैसे आप बता रहे हैं, जैसे ही सिचुएशन खराब होना शुरू लगी तो आपने डिसीजन कब लिया कि अब इवैक्यूएट करना पड़ेगा? गवर्नमेंट के एफर्ट्स के बारे में बताइए। गवर्नमेंट के ऑफिशियल्स आपके किस तरह से आपसे बातचीत कर रहे थे, और ये पूरा जो इवैक्यूएशन हुआ उसका एक्सपीरियंस कैसा था?
एक्चुअली जो पोर्ट तक पहुंचने की जर्नी थी वो इटसेल्फ ही डिसाइडेड नहीं थी शुरू में, क्योंकि सम एक्ट ऑफ वायलेंस काफी रिपोर्ट हुए थे कि मतलब लोग सड़कों पे गए हैं, उनके साथ लूटपाट हुई है। इवन हमने ये भी न्यूज में पढ़ा कि मतलब ये सऊदी का एम्बेसडर जब मूव किया और कतर का एम्बेसडर मूव किया, उन लोगों को भी रोका गया, उनके साथ लाइक असॉल्ट और हरासमेंट टाइप किया गया, उन सबसे फोन छीन लिए गए और किसी का फोन नहीं वापस दिया, सिर्फ एम्बेसडर का ही फोन वापस दिया। तो एक तरह का मतलब डर का माहौल तो था कि सड़क का रूट भी इतना सेफ नहीं है। लेकिन हम लोग क्या था कि 4-5 दिन तक तो हमें आस थी कि सीज फायर हो जाएगा, लेकिन हर रोज वो बोलते थे सीज फायर होगा, लेकिन होता नहीं था। जब भी सीज फायर होता था तभी और ज्यादा लड़ना स्टार्ट हो जाती, और ज्यादा मतलब कि गन शॉट्स और एयरप्लेन और दिस काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स वेयर लाइक in the force whenever there was a ceasefire like announcement। तो फिर एयर का जो विंडो थी वो हमारे दिल में एक झूठी सी तसल्ली थी, क्योंकि तब ईद आने वाली थी। लास्ट जो फ्राइडे था वो फर्स्ट डे ऑफ ईद था, तो हमें लगा कि शायद ईद वाले दिन दोनों पार्टीज किसी तरह का सीज फायर करेंगे और मे भी लोगों को थोड़ी सी रियायत देंगे कि वो बाहर जा सकें, शॉपिंग कर सके। तो वो एक शायद विंडो बनेगी जिसमें हमें एम्बेसी इवैक्यूएट करेगी। उससे पहले एम्बेसी रोड के बारे में साइमल्टेनियसली मे बी दे वर थिंकिंग, बट नेवर वाज ए पार्ट ऑफ ए प्लान, लाइक दे वर मोर फोकस्ड ओनली ऑन द एयर इवैक्यूएशन। जब फर्स्ट डे ऑफ वायलेंस हो जाता है, मतलब ईद के दिन भी काफी वायलेंस हुआ, तो फिर हमारी वो भी जो एक झूठी आस थी वो भी जाने लगी कि अब तो मतलब ये भी नहीं मतलब रहा कि एक विंडो दिख रही थी। तो फिर हम सब लोग ऐसे ही मतलब एम्बेसी में कॉन्टैक्टेड थे, उन्होंने एक डिफरेंट एरिया के लिए डिफरेंट कमांडर्स बना रखे थे। कि जो लोग हैंडल करेंगे अपने एरिया के लोगों को इकट्ठा करेंगे और फिर हम शायद हमें लैंड रूट ही लेना पड़े। तो वो लैंड रूट में भी 1-2 ही ऑप्शन थी। तो देन वी फाइनली कम आउट टू कि हमें सबको पोर्ट सुदान ही जाना है, क्योंकि हमारे वहाँ पे नेवल शिप ऑलरेडी आ चुके हैं। तो फिर हमने का रास्ता लिया जो कि थोड़ा लंबा था, लेकिन ये था कि इसके अलावा कोई और चारा भी नहीं था।
जी, तो जैसे आपने बताया कि सरकार काफी प्रोएक्टिव थी, उन्होंने ऑलरेडी व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप्स एक्टिवेट करे हुए थे। मैं आपकी वाइफ से भी पूछना चाहती हूँ, अब आप घर आ गई हैं, आपको कैसा लग रहा है और आप भारत सरकार को क्या कहना चाहेंगी?
मुझे अभी भी बहुत ज्यादा मेंटल ट्रॉमा है। हमारा घर यहाँ जीरकपुर में है, तो जब भी ऊपर से अभी भी प्लेन जा रहा है ना, तो मेरे माइंड में अभी भी वो चीज स्ट्रक होती है कि प्लेन आ गया ऊपर। मैं ठीक है, अब लाइक सेफ लग रहा है, हो रहा है कि अब ठीक हो जाएगा धीरे धीरे। एंड थैंक यू इंडियन गवर्नमेंट, इंडियन नेवी, उन्होंने बहुत ध्यान रखा हमारा ना। साउथ में बहुत अच्छी अरेंजमेंट थी, खाना अच्छे से दे रहे थे। लाइक जब हम गए थे तो वहाँ इवन मैट्रेसेस भी बिल्कुल न्यू थी, ब्रांड न्यू थी, सब एसेसरीज भी दे रहे थे, सब अच्छा था। Thank you so much to the Narendra Modi actually.
Well, that's good to know that more and more Indians are now coming back. Families like Sukhvinder are relieved today. The evacuation still continues. We leave the conversation there. We'll keep tracking all these developments. For now, it's a wrap from my side. News continues here on CNN News 18.
Good evening, hello and welcome. You're watching Plain Speak here on CNN News 18 with me, Poonam Burde. The fight for Karnataka is one of prestige for both the Congress and the BJP. One party is eyeing a fillip ahead of the 2024 elections, while the other is eyeing an historic return to the state. Both parties have had their bigwigs campaign at a feverish pitch in the run-up to elections. It's less than a fortnight to go. Rahul and Priyanka Gandhi have been in the state. The Congress's president himself has been leading from the front. Buoyed by the response they received during Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo Yatra and its Karnataka leg, the Congress is confident that this election is theirs to win. Add to that the united front that the Congress has been putting up as far as the state leadership, the DK Shiv Kumar camp and Siddaramaiah camp and the two leaders are concerned. That coming at a time when there's rebellion within the BJP, there are resignations within the BJP. That too is giving hope to the Congress party in this poll-bound state. But today, Congress's chief Mallikarjun Kharge, who was on campaign trail in the state, held a no-holds-barred attack against the Prime Minister. Well, nothing wrong in that. But the kind of language that was used, that is now raised hackles of the BJP. Now, this is not the first time that Mallikarjun Kharge has taken a direct swipe against the Prime Minister. This time, Kharge, who is in his home state of Karnataka, tagged the Prime Minister a poisonous snake while asking voters to be cautious of the BJP and for believing promises made by the BJP. A comment that saw a quick clarification, but the political war of words only escalated. Listen in to the comment that Mallikarjun Kharge first made and the clarification that followed.
ನೀವಂದ್ರೆ ಇದು ವಿಷಯ ಅದ ಇಲ್ಲ ನೋಡೋಣ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನೆಕ್ ನೋಡೋಣ ನೆಕ್ಕಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಿರಿ ನೆಕ್ಕರು ಸತ್ತ ಇಲ್ಲ ಇದು ವಿಷಯ ಅದನೋ ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಮೋದಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟನ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಮನುಷ್ಯನ ಪ್ರಧಾನ ಮಂತ್ರಿ ನಾವು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನೋಡೋಣ ನೆಕ್ ನೋಡೋಣ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಆ ವಿಷಯವನ್ನ ನೆಕ್ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಮಲಗೇ ಬಿಡ್ತೀರಲ್ಲೇ ಹಂಗೆ ನೀವು ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಚಿಂತೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಈಗ ದೇಶಕ್ಕಾಗಿ
ಭಾರತೀಯ ಜನತಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿ ಅದು ಒಂದೇನಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಹಾವು ಇದ್ದಂಗೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನೀವು ಹಿಂಗ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ದೆ ನೆಕ್ ನೋಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಟಿಮೇಟ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಡೆತ್ ಅಪ್ಪ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಹೇಳಿಲ್ಲ ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ನಾ ಹೇಳಿದ ಮೊದಲೇನೆ ವೈಯಕ್ತಿಕವಾಗಿ ನಾ ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಹೇಳೋದು ಇಲ್ಲ ಈಗೂ ಹೇಳಿನಿ ವೈಯಕ್ತಿಕವಾಗಿ ಯಾರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನನಗೆ ಅಸೂಯಿಲ್ಲ ಆದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಐಡಿಯಾಲಜಿ ಏನಿದೆ ಅದು ಒಂದು ವಿಷಯದಂಗಿದೆ ಆ ಐಡಿಯಾಲಜಿ ನೀವು ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ನಾನು ನೆಕ್ ನೋಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಡೆತ್ ಈಸ್ ಸರ್ಟನ್.
Now, the BJP was not going to take this down lightly. One leader, top of them, after another, lined up to slam the Congress party, Mallikarjun Kharge specifically. The Chief Minister of Karnataka, Basavaraja Bommai, was one of the first ones to respond. He came out and said that Mallikarjun Kharge's mind is poisonous and this shows prejudice towards Prime Minister Modi and the BJP. Union Minister Rajiv Chandrasekhar then came out and said that Karnataka will never forgive or forget or even vote for the Congress party because of such commentary coming to the fore from the highest within the party. Prakash Javadekar, a member of parliament and a former union minister, also came out and said that this is reflection of sheer frustration and a defeatist mindset of the Congress party. Dharmendra Pradhan, union minister, again came out and said that Mallikarjun Kharge making such comments is only doing so to please his masters. Anurag Thakur, Union INB minister, then came out and said that nobody considers Mallikarjun Kharge as the Congress president. Hence, he is desperate, once again hinting at the remote control allegation that the BJP has been making all along. Now, whether that narrative resonates or not, voters will decide on the 10th of May. But elections are about pre-poll promises, and the Congress has been making a slew of them, a list of guarantees that they are offering to the voters if the Congress is voted to power. One such promise that has been made by the Grand Old Party and by the former Chief Minister of the state, Siddaramaiah, is on reservations. Siddaramaiah came out yesterday and said that the Congress is committed to increasing the quota limit in the state to 75%. Right now, remember, it's at 50%. The 50% cap on reservation should be removed is the Congress's pitch. Siddaramaiah and other Congress leaders have also said that that quota should be increased based on caste population. A certain caste which has a very high population but has no representation in quota will also be looked into. Caste-based census should be included in the next census is also another demand that has been made.